Sculk sensors were added in Minecraft 1.17 as a way to detect nearby vibrations. Minecraft 1.20 and 1.20.2 expanded on this feature, adding additional vibration detection and new transmission possibilities, as well as adding a new block called the Calibrated Sculk sensor. Calibrated Sculk sensors are a craftable variant of the Sculk sensor that is better in almost every way. And to fully appreciate just how powerful it is, let's first recap on the Sculk sensor and form a baseline for how we can find them and use them. Sculk sensors can be found naturally in the deep dark biome and ancient cities, or generated by a Sculk catalyst. They can be mined with any tool enchanted with Silk Touch, but they are mined fastest with a hoe. If they are mined with a non-Silk Touch tool, they drop experience instead. Sculk sensors detect vibrations in an 8-block spherical radius around it. When a vibration is detected, a vibration particle is created and travels between the source of the vibration and the Sculk sensor. Vibrations travel in a straight line between the source of the vibration and the Sculk sensor and will pass through the air and all blocks except for any wall-based block. Sculk sensors can detect and transmit vibrations, but what exactly is a vibration? Most in-game actions or events that create a sound or movement will generate a vibration. For example, when a player or mob walks, they produce sound. If a piston or note block is activated, they also produce sound. Dropping items onto most blocks doesn't produce a sound, however it does create a vibration through the movement of the item and landing on a block. Due to the large number of events and actions that can cause a vibration, vibrations are detectable based on common frequencies. For example, the frequency created by eating is the same regardless of what food is being eaten. Sculk sensors can detect the vibration frequency of eating, but it cannot differentiate the specific item that was eaten. A redstone signal is produced by the Sculk sensor. The strength of the redstone signal depends on the proximity of the vibration source. The closer the vibration to the Sculk sensor, the stronger the redstone signal. If the vibration is further away, the weaker the signal. The maximum output strength of the redstone signal is when the vibration is directly on top of the sensor. If a comparator is connected to the Sculk sensor, the redstone output will match the type of vibration detected. You can therefore identify the type of sound generated. For example, the sound of footsteps or the sound of placing a block. You can think of the type of vibration as the frequency of the sound, where similar in-game sounds have a common frequency. Here are the current detectable vibration frequencies. The recent Minecraft 1.20.2 update included some changes to the frequencies. For example, unequipping items now emits a vibration frequency of 4, and camels eating cactus emits a vibration frequency of 8. So we now know Sculk sensors can detect vibrations and emit a redstone output. But what else can they do, and how else can we maximize their versatility? If a Sculk Shrieker is within 8 blocks of the Sculk sensor and the vibration was caused by a player, the Shrieker will be activated. This can lead to the Warden being spawned in ancient cities. Sculk sensors cannot detect vibrations caused by other Sculk blocks or by the Warden. A player can avoid detection by a Sculk sensor if they sneak past it. All 4 sides of the Sculk sensor plus the block below can be used to output a redstone signal. A Sculk sensor cannot detect a vibration if there is a wool or carpet block directly between it and the source of the vibration. You can use this behavior to limit the detection direction of vibrations. A Sculk sensor is silent if waterlogged, but it will still detect vibrations. Standing directly on a Sculk sensor will cause the Sculk sensor to continuously activate, even if the player is sneaking. It may not look like it, but a Sculk sensor outputs a light level of 1 regardless if it's being activated. If there is an adjacent block of amethyst next to the Sculk sensor, the block of amethyst will transmit the same vibration that was detected by the Sculk sensor. The vibration is transmitted up to 8 blocks, and you can position multiple Sculk sensors with an adjacent block of amethyst to chain the transmission of the vibration over large distances. Calibrated Sculk sensors are the same as the Sculk sensor, except they don't generate naturally, have better vibration detection abilities, and they can receive a redstone input to limit the vibration frequency it will detect. To craft a calibrated Sculk sensor, in a crafting table, surround a Sculk sensor with 3 amethyst shards. On top of the calibrated Sculk sensor is what appears to be an amethyst crystal, with a connected amethyst texture on one side of the block. The side with the amethyst texture is where a redstone signal can be input, which calibrates the block to only detect vibration frequencies that correspond to the signal strength of the redstone. With the Sculk sensor, the detected vibration frequency is determined after the vibration is processed, but with the calibrated Sculk sensor, the detected vibration frequency is predetermined before the vibration is processed. You can simplify the redstone input to the calibrated Sculk sensor by using a comparator output of a lectern with a written book. The written book should have 15 pages, where each page number corresponds to the strength of the vibration frequency. For example, page 12 corresponds to the vibration frequency of 12, which is the destruction of any non-wool block. The vibration detection range of the calibrated Sculk sensor is 16 blocks, which is twice that of the Sculk sensor at 8 blocks. They have a cooldown of 1 second instead of 2 seconds, meaning they can detect vibrations more frequently and output a redstone signal more frequently. Because a calibrated Sculk sensor can accept a redstone input on one side of the block, this side cannot output a redstone signal. If the desired detection frequency is removed as a redstone input, a calibrated Sculk sensor can perform the same as a regular Sculk sensor, but with the added benefit of reduced detection cooldown and a greater detection range for the vibration source. Let's look at some examples now of how we can use the Sculk sensor and the calibrated Sculk sensor. Here we want this iron door to open, and we're going to achieve that by using a Sculk sensor that has a comparator output that's going to output what the frequency of vibration was detected. We then extend the pulse through a redstone repeater, and then that will power this iron door. So we're just going to make some vibrations anywhere near the Sculk sensor, and that will open and close this door. If we go behind the wall blocks, it won't pick up a vibration, therefore the door won't open. And if we wanted to change the angle of vibration detection for the Sculk sensor and make that a little narrower, we could put these extra wall blocks around it. And we could even go a little bit further. So you'd have to really be right in front of this thing for the vibration to travel from where I'm standing through to this Sculk sensor. Now, we don't have to use a Sculk sensor. We could also use the calibrated Sculk sensor. It doesn't really matter in this example. All we need is a vibration detection, which is what this comparator is doing, and any vibration will temporarily activate the iron door. This simple example also demonstrates the difference in cooldown between the calibrated Sculk sensor and the regular Sculk sensor, because when this gets activated, you can see the door opens and closes really quickly. But if we switch back to the regular Sculk sensor, you can see it takes a little bit longer to open and close. Another thing to remember is that Sculk sensors can detect vibrations above and below. So if you want to avoid that, you can put a wool block above the block and also beneath it. And another thing to note about the placement of the Sculk sensor is that because we have this off to the side, this door will only open when we're standing over here, because the vibration is only going to travel a clear path between us and the Sculk sensor. It's not going to travel through the wall blocks. So even if we're standing over here and we're within the detection range of the Sculk sensor, because of the wall block placements, it's not going to be detected and this door will not open. And a quick reminder that vibrations can travel through any non-wall block, so you can put in a nice wall and make sure your redstone's all nicely hidden, and this door will still open and close. Here we want to open this iron door by eating something, but it currently doesn't do that. So we are going to use a calibrated Sculk sensor. We'll have our lectern with our 15-page book inside. We're going to turn this to detection frequency of 8, which is consuming an item. Now every time we eat something or drink something, this vibration will be detected by this calibrated Sculk sensor and the door will open and close. But we don't want to be too far away when we eat something or drink something to have this door activate. So we need to add some additional redstone here. Now we know the redstone output from a Sculk sensor or a calibrated Sculk sensor is inversely proportional to the distance between the source of the vibration and the sensor itself. So the further away, the weaker the signal, the closer we are, the stronger the signal. So the signal is going to be strong if we're going to be closer to this door. So if we were to mark this out, let's say we want to be standing around here somewhere, and this is where we want to eat, we need to know how strong of a signal this will be. So let's first of all just put out some redstone here and see how strong of a signal this will be. Let's take a look as we eat here. Okay, so it goes all the way out to about here. Now we need to take this redstone and then use this output to open and close this door. But that's not very compact, so perhaps there's a better way we could use some redstone here. So first of all, we need to count the signal strength that we're getting from this line of redstone. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So we need to know when the output strength from this calibrated sculk sensor is 9 or more. And the reason why it's or more is because we want this door to open if we're eating something as we get closer to it. So here's okay, from here is also okay, but from here is not okay. So from here it is 9, perhaps here is 10, 11, etc. Because the signal strength is increasing the closer we are to it. And as we walk closer to this door, we are getting closer to this sensor. With our newfound knowledge of needing a signal strength of 9 or more from this calibrated sculk sensor, we're going to make some changes to the redstone. Let's put in some redstone dust here, and we'll put in a comparator, and let's put that into subtraction mode. So we're going to have a signal strength going into the back of this comparator that is going to be 9 or more. So from here it's 9, as we get closer it could be 10, etc. So at least this number is going to be 9. In subtraction mode, it's going to take the number from the rear, which is 9, less the largest value that we have on the side. So we need to put in a redstone signal to the side. We only need to put in one signal. So for that, we're going to use a lectern, and we're going to use the same book. It doesn't matter about the frequencies here. All we need to do is a subtraction. So we're going to do a number of 8. So we can put in a comparator here. This is going to put a constant signal strength of 8 into this comparator. At the moment, the strength will be 9 as we stand here. 9 minus 8 is 1. That means this piece of redstone dust will be powered. So we can put in a repeater, connect this repeater output to this door. We can remove that dust now, and that will always open the door. As we stand back here, this won't open. As we get closer all the way up to the door will now open. The value is greater than 9. As we get onto this block, the value is 9. And the door will still open. That is because this value of this redstone is 9 or more. 9 minus 8 is 1 or greater. If this is 10, 10 minus 8 is 2. This has a power level of 2. Goes into this repeater. That's always going to open this door. Here we have an iron door, and we want to open and close it by interacting with a block. So we have a flower pot. We can interact with it by adding and removing a flower or sapling. And we have a chilled bookshelf. We can interact with that by adding and removing a book. These are 2 examples. There are other blocks in the game that can also be interacted with. Now, when we do interact with a block, there is a frequency that is being generated, and we can detect that with our calibrated sculk sensor. So we have one of these over here, and in this example, we have waterlogged it. So if this is being activated, it is silent. We won't hear this sensor. We have our 15-page book in a lectern. We're going to turn this to page 11. We want a signal strength of 11 put as an input to the side of this calibrated sculk sensor. You can see this is the side that needs the input. We have our comparator here to pass that signal strength in. That's now dialed in, it's calibrated. It's going to be listening to a block change. So this is a block change. It's now going to detect that. You can see there is a little particle that's being generated between these, but it is silent. We're not hearing that because this is waterlogged. So we have this now dialed in. The only thing we need to think about now is how far away the vibration source is to do anything with it. So that's why we have our redstone beneath here. That's going to be having a power level whenever it's detecting a vibration from either of these 2 blocks. So if this is closer, that means this is going to have a higher power level than this block over here. The further away, the lower the power level. If this is 13, 14, or 15, that's probably what this distance is here and the output that we'll get. We're going to subtract 12. Remember, this is not doing anything with frequencies. It's just generating a constant signal strength into the side of this comparator that's in subtraction mode. If this is 13, 13 minus 12 is 1. 1 is a positive value. That's going to power the block I'm standing on. That's going to power this repeater. And that's going to power this redstone. And we have our comparator set up here just to extend the pulse. But either way, this is going to power this door. So let's try it out. We're going to interact with the block. You can see the door has opened. And when we put this back, it's also going to open again because that's an interaction. And if we try it out with this chisel bookshelf, if we interact with that, you can see the door is not opening. And that is because it's being filtered out. The distance is too far away. This strength is too low for this block. So if this was 13 before, maybe it's now 12 or 11 or 10. If we subtract this constant value of 12 from that, if the value is 0 or negative as the result, that won't power this line of redstone. So if we do want to include the detection of this chisel bookshelf, we need to do a smaller number subtraction. So let's reduce this number here. Let's just put it all the way down to 4 as an example. So if this is 5 or greater, then this will now be powered. So the distance between here, if this calculation is 5 or more of a redstone signal strength, this door will open. So let's try it out. You can see the door magically opens. And that's one reason why using a lectern with a book for the subtraction here is a good thing, because we can change it. It's variable. We can play with this to put in whatever number we think is right. When the subtraction occurs, it just needs to be a positive value to power this line of redstone, and that will control this door. So if you're not sure what the signal strength will be, just use a lectern, play with the numbers, and you'll find one that's going to have a positive result, and that will open and close the door. This wraps up the latest changes made to Sculk blocks as of release Minecraft 1.20.2. This is stormfrenzy. Happy gaming.